Well, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News here on the 13 News Now app. It is 1 o'clock p.m., May 26th, 2026. We are days away from June, y'all. It is rapidly approaching the true summertime here in Hampton Roads. We are also one day removed from Memorial Day, another one of those signifiers that summer is on the way, that summer is starting, but much, much more importantly, it was hopefully an opportunity for everyone to spend time with family, friends, to decompress, and to spend time honoring and remembering those who have sacrificed to protect America's freedoms. Now we move forward into the work week on this Tuesday, and we begin with a story that we've been covering for a couple weeks here now, and that is the damaged tank containing hazardous chemicals in Southern California. It's something that has led to thousands of people being evacuated. We have 16,000 residents still waiting now for the all clear. 50,000 residents evacuated originally. Methyl methacrylate, the highly flammable chemical used to make plastics, is the hazardous chemical at play here. Now, yesterday we got word that the risk of a major explosion had largely passed. That led to what appeared to be a resumption of at least some sense of normality around the area. However, hearing from the interim fire chief of the Orange County Fire Authority on Monday, it's not over yet. He said, we still have to mitigate a fire and a very small explosion concern and also a spill potential. So this hazardous situation carries on into this week, despite, again, that significantly lowered risk of a truly monumental explosion that some people thought was at play when we originally started to see this damaged tank having all this hazardous chemical at an aerospace plant experiencing, again, damage and leaks. Now, Garden Grove in Los Angeles is where we saw some of those major evacuations happening specifically. And that 16,000, 50,000 number, those pertain to Garden Grove. And Garden Grove is where we had a press conference earlier today, actually just about half an hour ago, from enforcement authorities in Southern California. Let's listen in to that press conference.
To keep our crew members safe. It's just to continue to cool.
Is there any talk of like offloading some of the materials or anything like that?
So right now we are in the process of transferring some of the, not from the two adjacent tanks, that we're trying to reduce their, basically reduce the threat of the two adjacent tanks. By that, one of the tanks has a neutralizing agent already in it, and we're moving the product from the third tank, the third tank which is unaffected, we're moving that product into the other tank that has the neutralizing agent in it. As far as the affected tank, I know it was mentioned before, the valves in there are inoperable, so at this time we're unable to offload that product.
Right. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, and you sort of are. I mean, are there not other ways to offload that product beyond just using a valve that's not working?
Yeah, again, I'm not an expert on this, but I know our team is working with people that understand this product as well as understand the tank better than we do. So again, just our team working, our hazardous materials team, as well as working just with those experts, they're doing the best that they can.
And I don't know if you can answer this, but just for the layman, those of us that are not scientists, if the tank hasn't cooled enough, why would you stop putting water on it? What is the reason behind that? It only went down 1 degree. Wouldn't you think that if you kept cooling it, that might help?
Oh, we are continuing to cool it, but it's just no longer with the unmanned host stream. It's just with the water that is through the sprinkler system that's on site. We're continuing to cool it. I think it's just that we felt that it was doing well enough with that on-site cooling system, not needing the additional unmanned host stream.
Yeah. The water is running to where? Because we saw with the team walking.
Yeah, so with all that water that's being used to cool it down, it does get tested. It's just part of our normal operation. When we see that runoff going to storm drains, it does get tested, and there has been nothing harmful found in the water.
The unmanned cooling systems will remain, though, in place in case they're needed again?
Yes, yes. And the on-site system is going to just continually run.
So they were saying that they were going in every 30 minutes overnight to check the temperature. Is that what happened?
I don't have the specifics as far as
That's what the chief had said yesterday in the press conference. That every 30
Yeah,
minutes
that's what was continuing as of yesterday.
and it just went down 1 degree.
That was the last time that the temperature was checked. I don't have an updated temperature of that, an updated internal
Do
temperature
you know
at this
when
time.
the last time was?
It was sometime yesterday.
So that's still a number.
It was sometime
So
yesterday
we don't have
prior
a new
to the
number
press
today.
conference.
Like the last group that went in there to check what the temperature was, we don't have that number yet.
I don't have that number, no.
Is there a way to get that for us?
I may possibly, but I can't promise you.
Are you guys planning any public update later this evening?
Yes,
What time?
I don't have a time for you.
Will you be at the Garden Grove special meeting tonight, addressing the questions that the public has?
Not me specifically,
Oh,
possibly,
OCFA?
but yes, yeah, OCFA.
Can you spell it for us, please?
Yeah, Wei Hao Huang. That's Wayhowe. Last name Huang. Fire captain with Orange County Fire Authority.
So once to clarify, the timestamp for when you got the 92-degree reading was yesterday, right? That's the
Yeah, it was
timestamp.
yesterday. I don't have a specific time, but it was prior to the press conference. Yeah.
That's the last timestamp.
Yeah.
All right, we're back here in studio following that update regarding that chemical plant in California that, again, is now sort of seemingly progressing towards a point of at least relative safety. However, we have a live picture that has come across, or a live look that has come across our feed here into Washington. This is near the Washington-Oregon border, near the Columbia River, where a kraft pulp and paper mill and a liquid packaging plant has experienced an issue of its own. Let's dive into this a little bit. This is information coming from our national ABC station. Multiple injuries have been reported following an explosion at a facility in Washington. Quote, a major chemical explosion was reported Tuesday morning at the Nippon Dino Wave Packaging Company in Longview, according to fire authorities. There are multiple reported injuries, according to the Longview Fire Department, and residents have been urged to avoid the area amid the active emergency response. Not a lot of information here, other than that we know there was a chemical explosion and multiple injuries. And again, this is a kraft pulp, paper mill, and liquid packaging plant, according to the Washington Department of Ecology. And again, this is a live look in that area. And if we at least try to observe, you obviously can't see much, and you would imagine, based on what we just read, that even reporters are not getting particularly close to this facility, though you certainly can see off in the distance everything that sort of appears to be that chemical industrial complex type of facility. It gives that look, especially you look at the plumes of smoke coming out of that building in the back. You see these 18-wheelers or these rather large trucks are starting to sort of move in or move out of the area perhaps. You have a police car there. You have the yellow tape here, and then in the back, more of that typical architecture that you see at a plant of some sort, some kind of industrial facility. So we don't know much, but we wanted to report on this since it just came across our live feed, and it is sort of oddly within the same realm as the chemical plant that we've been speaking about in California. Now, that was not an explosion. That was damage to the plant that they feared could become an explosion. This, however, is being reported as an actual explosion that has occurred. However, a major chemical explosion are the words that they used. This happened again this morning, and multiple injuries reported, but we have not heard word of any fatalities. So that's something we'll keep an eye on, and if we see any sort of press conference activity there in Washington, we'll head out there to see if we can get more information as well. So on the West Coast, 2 different issues with chemical plants over the course of the last week to 2 weeks, something that's certainly scary for those in the surrounding area. You see a fire truck now making its way onto the scene in this particular situation. Maybe that's why those trucks moved, to see if that fire truck could kind of get through there, though it appears to be stuck. And that is Vancouver fire. That's a Vancouver fire truck. So we wonder if this is close enough to the border. There is a Vancouver city in Washington state. So this is coming from, again, this is right on that Washington-Oregon border. And so this is a Vancouver, Washington that is coming to the area to try and help solve any problems they can. You do see a gentleman there who appears to be maybe doing some on-the-ground reporting of his own. He's inside of that yellow tape there. Okay, let's maneuver elsewhere here with our day. 1:10 p.m. We've just gotten started here. Back-to-back chemical plant updates to start our show. A rarity for us here on Live Impact News. And all this time spent on the West Coast, a little bit more unique, but it's something we've been covering for at least a week now in terms of the Orange County situation with that chemical plant. So we're going to take a break. We're going to reset. Then we'll dive into some of those major headlines we've been seeing throughout the day today. We'll be right back on Live Impact News. And we're back here on Live Impact News. Now, again, we're rapidly approaching that June 1st date. I mean, it is right around the corner. Monday will be June 1st. We'll start our new week as we start a new month, and that also means we'll be starting hurricane season here in the Mid-Atlantic region, and it's something that obviously in Virginia and North Carolina, always on the lookout for, especially during that prime time period, as that is the major weather disaster that seems to affect us the most here in our viewing area. But it stretches all up and down the East Coast, really, and that includes Florida, and in some cases especially Florida. And in Miami today at the National Hurricane Center, NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Organization, held a press conference about hurricane preparedness and the upcoming hurricane season. So we're going to listen into a bit of that now, as so much of it pertains to us here in Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina.
It's your responsibility. They can't make you go to safety. All right, you have to decide to do that. Now, there's a lot of local officials up here. Listen to them. I mean, they've got the best information. They're going to be able to tell you whatever they know. If they tell you to evacuate, get the hell out of Dodge. I mean, don't take a chance with your life. And then understand that hurricanes move. I live in Naples, Florida, and the Hurricane Ian 4 years ago changed in the last couple hours. If you go back to Andrew, I was in the hospital business here in Miami at the time, and it changed and went further south. We had evacuated our hospitals up along the Miami River, Victoria and then St. Francis on the beach, but ended up hitting what is now called Jackson South and completely demolished the hospital. Every window was blown out, everything, and it happened just in the last few minutes. So this stuff changes. And the Hurricane Center is going to put out this nice cone. Don't believe it. I mean, that's the odds, but it can change. I mean, they have the best people. We have the best people in the world. The whole world relies on us. but it can move and it can change, and so you've got to be extremely careful. But we've got FEMA Region 4 Administrator Rob Ash, and so the way FEMA works is first it's you, then it's local, then it's state, and the FEMA is a response to the governor. So if the governor asks for resources, it's generally money. They don't have a whole bunch of people that walk in and say, hey, let me do something for you. They have the ability to write a check because it's part of the federal government. But it's done through the governor's office. So, but FEMA my experience with FEMA, they do a fabulous job. They work hard, but it's a coordinated effort, and they're generally the dollars. Next, I want to recognize your sheriff, Rosie Corderos. Rosie has been doing a great job as sheriff. I got to actually know her before she ran. And you have somebody that's completely dedicated to this community, and she's got a great team, is continuing to build a great team, and they're going to do everything they can to make you safe. Then you've got a great fire chief, Ray Jala. Ray's out right now. He's been fighting fires. It's a dry year, as you all know, so we've had a lot of wildfires, especially out in the west of here, east of where I live in Naples, and our firefighters are doing a fabulous job. Then we got Erica Bennett, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Spanish spokesperson. We got Pete Gomez, Miami-Dade Department of Emergency Management. What happened, especially I think it really started where the state got really good, is after Andrew. The whole state put way more resources into local emergency management teams, and they've done a fabulous job. We've got great county emergency management teams all across the country. Miami-Dade has one of the best. Then we have a lot of other partners, and one great partner is the American Red Cross, and they do a fabulous job when we open up shelters, like in Ian and no, my biggest one was Irma. In Irma, we opened up 700 shelters, and so the National Guard opened them, and then American Red Cross took care of almost all of them. So Tiffany Gonzalez is here to talk about that. Then we've got Jeanette Nunez. I got to work with Jeanette. She's now the president of FIU, which is a great university. And by the way, we're the #1 public university system in the country. But Jeanette was in the legislature and did a fabulous job. She's representing Miami-Dade, and she's a bulldog. She gets her stuff done. Then Ana Maria Rodriguez.
She's actually a Panther.
Okay, as they go over their alumni base there in Florida, a little bit of fun there in Miami at the National Hurricane Center. They are, of course, about to embark on a long press conference about a very serious topic. Now, we have two different live views here on your screen that we're going to go over. The first one at the bottom of your screen we've been talking about today. This is in Washington, where there was an explosion at that chemical facility. The fire truck just left, and as you can see there, hazmat authorities are about to go in. The side of that truck carrying that trailer behind it, hazmat in all caps. So obviously this is a team that is going in likely to have hazmat gear on to protect against any sort of who knows, released chemical that may be remaining, or dangerous gases or liquids that may have sort of leaked out through this explosion. So the hazmat team does appear to have arrived. Now, at the top of your screen, as we transition back to our 3-shot, Tallahassee, Florida. Today in Tallahassee, the accused suspect in the Florida State University shooting set to appear in court. Phoenix Eichner is 21 years old. He's accused of killing 2 men and injuring 6 others in April of 2025. This is a case management hearing in Florida this afternoon. Let's go live out to that right now. We'll listen in. Can't tell if we can hear anything, but we're going to give it a try here just to start out, and then we'll meet back in the studio. We suspected that might be the case. We can't hear anything right now. We'll keep an eye on that courtroom as, again, Phoenix Eichner is scheduled to appear there today after that deadly Florida State University shooting last year in 2025. As for us here, Taylor Stephenson has just arrived in the studio. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, we're going to reset, and then we'll move forward with our local forecast after this. All right, back here on Live Impact News. Now, I made a grave mistake at the start of this show. I did not introduce the People's producer, Nia Campbell, and as we begun Live Impact News, Nia, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to take you for granted here.
It's okay. I was waiting on it. I was like, oh, I guess I'm not here.
I know.
I'm just kidding. We have
Rest
a lot
assured,
going on at the top.
Nia Campbell is here. We just had so many chemical explosions that we had to get to. 2 different chemical plants being damaged and or exploding today to start our show. But we got to get an introduction to the People's producer in there. The viewers are begging to hear from Nia Campbell day to day. They also are very eager to hear from Taylor Stephenson, who joins us now in studio with a forecast today, Taylor. Not bad in terms of what we're seeing behind you there. Outside, out and about. It was raining a little bit earlier, but some sunshine creeping through.
A little bit, and it's going to be this kind of back and forth push-pull thing where you'll get a little bit of sunshine, then it will rain again, then it'll open up and some sunshine. If you say that 5 times fast.
Sunshine. I think we got a DJ weather in here.
But, all that sunshine, that was so corny. All the sunshine will come through and then warm us up again, then the rainfall will come through and then, cool us off. So we're going to do that back and forth, kind of like Tom and Jerry, who's going to really win out this time type of deal. Now, as we get into the rest of the day today, this is going to be the same pattern. We're going to see them isolated to scattered showers, redeveloping, heavy downpours, and dry out. Same thing through Wednesday. Now, I do have a new note for Wednesday, is that we will issue a weather impact alert for Wednesday, and that is new after the noon. The Weather Service, and I feel like the Storm Prediction Center loves to play with me. They love to do things after I get off the air, and I'm like, oh, I could have literally talked about this 5 minutes ago had you issued that just a bit sooner. But it's okay. That's why we have Live Impact News, so we can talk about that breaking stuff when we want to. Now, dryness will come through to end the work week, and then we get into the weekend, and it's looking much brighter for the 757. Now, let's clock this, Connor. Did I not just tell you yesterday the forecast for the weekend could change?
You did.
He's clocking it.
We did. We were hoping it would.
We're hoping it would, and it's looking better for the 757. Lower rain chances, temperatures in the 70s. Now, right now, I like to just 3-box this for this type of weather because you can see the difference in just being across the 7 cities. The first one at the top, above the words Virginia Beach, that's Newport News, very cloudy. In the top right, that is going to be Town Center, Virginia Beach. So right now, Virginia Beach is mid-70s. And a little bit of sunshine probably picking through here and there. The bottom right, that is Chesapeake over the Jordan Bridge. Look how it's like partly cloudy. So sunshine. So it really depends on where you are to see what conditions you're seeing. And also I talk about a lot is this dew point temperature. Dew point temperatures are super important in this forecast because not only does it tell you how humid it's going to be outside, but the higher the number, the higher likelihood of we are of seeing some heavy downpours. Dew point temperatures measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere.
Disrespectful is hilarious. I've never noticed that before.
Yes, I think that was something that Tim did. I love it. It is downright, like 75 plus is downright disrespectful. That's like those summertime afternoons where you are literally sweating just because of the humidity alone, not even thinking about how hot it is on top of that. Now, we're going to have the same dew point temperatures probably tomorrow, but temperatures tomorrow climbing near 90. So it's going to feel more like the mid 90s tomorrow. So a very hot and humid day. Now, it's all part of this stalled front. This stalled front slowly moving to the south. So now draped over to the peninsulas. That's a sign we want to see. We want to see it slowly moving to the south, and that will bring in less moisture. The further south it sinks, the less moisture will start to pull into our area. And once it moves south of our area by Thursday, that is when the rain chances will really start to fall off. Now, right now, starting to see some redevelopment of some showers on the south side. The peninsulas, though, very clear at the moment. We get into the south side and hear those heavy downpours near Suffolk. We're getting closer to Saunders. I'm going to zoom in real quick. So near Russell, so that's right around White Marsh Road, so just south of downtown Suffolk and heading over into extreme western Chesapeake. Deep Creek also seeing some of that rainfall, also a small shower in northern Chesapeake near Sono, so South Norfolk. And then I'm going to zoom back out and you'll see that Virginia Beach is mainly clear. So Chesapeake, expect for some heavy downpours to move your direction. Also, as we get into, and we'll zoom in here to show you North Carolina, you can see that we do have some heavier downpours in the mix as you get into places just north of Kellogg's Fork, south of Parker's Fork, near Highway 117. So all of those showers and a few thunderstorms will develop in these areas as well. A lot of redevelopment as you head west. And a lot of these showers are tracking from west to east. So if you are not seeing rainfall yet, just give it about an hour or so and you may see some. Now, as we continue throughout the rest of the day, we'll have a really big mix of temperatures. Some 60s north, like in the eastern shore, around the coast, mid 70s to low 80s. Inland, we could be in the mid 80s. So another warm and humid day. Showers and thunderstorms continue through this evening, and then even some isolated showers with some heavy downpours overnight. Tomorrow morning, we wake up, we're cloudy, we're muggy, we're warm. Temperatures by the time you're heading out the door onto that work commute, the morning commute, will be in the low to mid 70s. We get into the afternoon, and temperatures will climb near the mid to upper 80s. I stopped it right around 6 p.m. because this is where I'm tracking those showers and thunderstorms. And I'm going to take the moment here to actually stop on this graphic for a moment to pull up what the Weather Service is saying, because again, I just mentioned that we have a new update and we're going to issue a weather impact alert for tomorrow, as we are underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk now for severe weather. So I'm going to pull up what the Weather Service is saying for this very, very new slight risk that they just issued around 1 p.m. They said for the Mid-Atlantic, they're going to see basically an upper level system tracking southward, and at the surface, because we have such warm, moist air, it's going to promote thunderstorm development. Basically, what they're looking for is a risk of damaging wind gusts from some heavier downpours. And so wind gusts could be as high as about 60 miles per hour. No tornado risk for tomorrow and no hail risk. So that's good news too. Again, I'm just looking at this in real time as well. So that's good news. Main threat, damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Other threats, heavy downpours that may lead to some very localized flooding like yesterday. And then, of course, lightning's always at risk. Those heavy downpours continue as we get into your Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning, and then fizzle out on Thursday as that front starts to sink south. One good thing I'm seeing with this futurecast is the direction of the winds that we'll see on Thursday. And I'm going to point out my pointer, so sorry if I'm looking down the camera right now. You're good. You can put me on camera. That's okay. So you see how these winds are coming from the north and west. That is actually going to pull in drier air. I'm going to go back just a few frames so you can see the difference. You see how these winds here are from the south. That pulls in warm, moist air. So that shows me that the front is sinking south through Thursday morning. And once that happens, drier air will filter in. Now, I do want to give you that look of the severe thunderstorm risk, the new one. You see that yellow. We have the isolated risk in the green. And then that yellow risk, that's your scattered severe thunderstorm threat. So level 2 out of 5 risk, meaning that thunderstorms are a little bit more likely in places like northern Norfolk, Isle of Wight, Surrey County, heading north, all the peninsulas underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk. Anything south is going to be underneath a level 1 out of 5 risk, so not as likely, but not out of the question. So the yellow areas have the highest risk of seeing a severe thunderstorm. Again, the great news about this is we're not looking for a tornado threat. We're not looking for a hail threat. This is going to be damaging wind gusts. Now, don't get me wrong. Damaging wind gusts can still cause, as it says in the name, damage, right? So don't just take this not seriously, but of course, during this time of year, during severe weather season, which lasts until Sunday, we're always looking for that tornado threat that could be a possibility. Thankfully, our severe weather season has been very quiet here in Virginia. No complaints at all. So this is probably one of the first level 2 risks we've had in a minute. So just make sure that you're staying weather aware, especially late afternoon tomorrow into the evening time. And for some people, that may coincide with your evening commute. So just make sure that you're paying attention to the weather. Now, last thing I want to say about this forecast is the fact that, hey, what's going on with our drought, right? So we had the rainfall over Memorial Day weekend. Our drought monitor still shows extreme drought. Why is that? Because we only get drought monitor updates once a week. So this does not include the rain that we had from the Memorial Day weekend. This drought monitor was updated last Thursday. We get a new drought monitor update on this coming Thursday. That being said, do I think that this drought will be alleviated? Absolutely not. Do I think that some areas may see a little bit of chipping away at some of the drought levels? Possibly, but I don't know if we even got that much to really chip away at much. We've got maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches for most areas at best over the past 3 days. No, I'm not including today. So we'll see how that really affects our drought, but I'll talk more later on in our evening shows about what an extreme drought does to an area when it comes to vegetation, to crops, to our local water levels. Also, this is the worst drought we've seen since the late summer and early fall of 2007. So it's been a long time, almost 2 decades, since we've had a drought this bad in coastal Virginia and coastal North Carolina. So more details on that later on in the shows today. Now, for your 5 to 7 day forecast, temperatures tomorrow climbing near 90 degrees. Hot, humid, with afternoon showers and thunderstorms that could pack a little bit of a punch. By Thursday morning, once we get rid of those early morning showers, we're drying out, we're clearing out. Temperatures on Thursday should be comfortable, mid 80s, but Friday is going to be beautiful, near 80, mostly sunny skies, no rain chances. This weekend will be a bit cooler. We should be normally near about 80 degrees, but this weekend will be in the low to mid 70s, not bad at all. But there is a low risk of a shower still on Saturday, but that chance, again, 20% is very, very low compared to the rain chances we had earlier this week into Memorial Day weekend, which were more like 70, 80%. Then, as we see, June 1st is Monday. And June 1st also kicks off hurricane season, but right now, I'm not looking at any tropical activity over the next 7 days. And Monday looks to start off June nice with highs in the mid 70s and sunshine.
This is great. That is some great changes that we like to see for the weekend there. Hopefully we get some healing rain over that Tuesday to Thursday stretch, but we love a beautiful Friday.
We do. I'll definitely make sure to soak it in, because after a rainy week like this, it definitely makes you appreciate those sunny days in the mid 70s.
Listen, speaking of sunny days, you did something earlier that gave me a weird deja vu flashback. You said we're cloudy, we're muggy, we're warm. You threw that out there all in succession, which reminded me so much of when I would go on summer vacation with all my cousins, and the parents would be trying to have us take pictures, and it was a lot of, we're smiling, we're happy, we're friends, we're smiling, we're standing
smiling,
still,
happy,
we're smiling.
I don't care if sweat is dripping down your face. We're smiling, we're happy, we're taking pictures.
Such a random flashback, but it put me right back there. So, Taylor, we appreciate the trip down memory lane and the forecast into the future, and we will see you tomorrow.
That sounds good.
All right, Taylor Stevenson, everybody. We are going to take a commercial break. Now, let's bring in the people's producer here. Naya, the hearing featuring the accused shooter from Florida State is now live in that courtroom. Do we want to go straight to that, or do you think we have time to actually go to break here?
I think we have time for a quick commercial break.
Okay, let's do a commercial break. When we come back, we'll head out to Florida. All right, back here on Live Impact News. As promised, we're going to go straight out to Florida, where the accused shooting suspect in the Florida State University shooting of April 2025 appearing in court today. Let's listen in.
I know that some of my victims' families are out of state and that they wish to be deposed in their residence. So I know we're going to do some traveling, but I think that the council has been making it. I'm still getting my arms around the amount of one thing that we've been dealing with just as of today. Every officer in the region of this part of Florida responded to FSU. And so we have agencies that are not traditionally there. For instance, there were some agencies that were doing training, federal agencies, that were doing training in the Tallahassee. They went there. So it's a little bit more complicated. We're trying to find it from when they did CAD and things. So it's not just, yes, I've got over 100 TPD officers, but I also have Miami-Dade, who was at Pat Thomas training, that responded. I also have federal people who were at the federal facilities that responded because of the nature of it. And once again, those witnesses may take more time than normal because if counsel chooses.
What material fact did those witnesses add to the case?
I don't believe that it's going to make a big deal, particularly in the guilt phase. Your Honor, and I agree with what you're saying there. I think it's a straightforward homicide. I think when we get into the sentencing phase, that's counsel has to figure out a way to try to lessen the culpability of his client, which I think is going to be extraordinarily difficult based on the facts and circumstances of this case. So that's his side of the ball. Once again, the victims deserve a fair, and so that's why I filed my motion, is that I'm not going to get pinched into a situation where I'm not ready. So once they do get doctors to come and say that there's some mitigation, once they do get witnesses from Norway that say that there's some justification, I'm planning on responding with great strength, and I'm going to have enough time to go and retain. If they end up with this type of doctor, I'm going to want to find everything I know about that doctor. I know that you said, Your Honor, you've done expert civil litigation. I'm not going to walk in there outgunned by experts, and that's why I'm trying to do it. So from where I've been, counsel's been very appropriate and dutiful in his work. I have not seen them malingering in any way or dragging their feet. Having said that, I'll be ready when the court tells me to be ready, which is what precipitated me to file that motion, because to be able to meet the deadline that we currently have, I need to start hiring mental health witnesses. Another thing that should be said, Your Honor, is it's a relatively small group of forensic psychologists who work in this area, and they're all working in Capitol. So they are litigating out. Trying to lock them in to when they would be available in October would be a challenge, or to sit there and say, hey, I need you, because once again, they have other capital litigation, which is clearly of the same severity as this. So we probably have 50 mental health people who do capital work in the state of Florida, if that many. So we're probably looking at some of the same experts, and I've got to be able to react once he goes and retains or gives me notice of who he's retained.
Okay. All right, anything else, Mr. Johnson?
Well, Judge, just specifically as it pertains to the state's motion, which is a request to essentially move up our discovery guidelines and move up as a cutoff. As a practical matter, Judge, at this time, we are diligently parsing through our records. In order for us to hire experts, we've got to give those experts records to rely on. And if this court were to order us to list all our experts by this arbitrary cutoff date, we would be unprepared. And I would ask this court to deny the state's motion, deny this request. 3.202 sets forth a regimen for disclosure of expert witnesses as they pertain to mental health mitigation. And the state is asking this court to move that up. But I just think the bigger picture, the thing that I would like to portray to the court is that we are working diligently, and I can assure this court that we will continue to do so. And we're not dragging our feet. We haven't since we've gotten this case. But we need a reasonable time to be able to do this effectively.
All right, I'll take it into consideration, and if I determine that there's going to be additional deadlines, I'll put out an order saying such. Anything else that we need to deal with today?
Your Honor, once again, we already are set for, I think, 10 or 12 different deposition dates, and once we start that, then question, Your Honor, I haven't done capital litigation with the court. Defense counsel, a lot of the motions they have filed, I understand why they're filing. It's black letter law. It's decided. I don't know what your preference, if you want to have a hearing or if you're going to rule on some, for instance, declaring the death penalty unconstitutional in the state of Florida. If you want to have a hearing, we can do that, or you may just want to do the research yourself and do that. I just want to know so that I'm prepared to respond if I am going to be responding to the various aggravating and some of those death penalty statutes. It's pretty standard in capital that they filed to move everything unconstitutional. I just don't know how you want to handle it.
I was going to handle everything that I could, probably without a hearing, unless someone is demanding a hearing on it. I did have a question about the as-applied challenges and some of the motions. How do we want to handle the as-applied? I can't really do that because I don't know what the as-applied facts are going to be. So how do you suggest handling that, Mr. Johnson?
We could have a hearing. We could have a Zoom hearing.
Okay.
However, the court.
All right. We'll probably do that sometime in late June. Okay. We'll handle all pending motions at that time. So we'll just have kind of an omnibus motion hearing day.
Thank you, Your Honor. We can work with that. I know scheduling, we can work with counsel and court to make sure that we got a courtroom available.
Yeah, just see what dates are mutually you guys are mutually available, and then let Lisa know, and we'll schedule something that works for everybody. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And there's one thing I wanted to note. Mr. Johnson, the tone of one of the motions, the defendant's demand for disclosure of favorable evidence, I thought was a bit much. Okay, so let's tone it back a little bit on those types of situations. All right, if you have specific facts that you would like to put forth, thinking that something occurred, that's fine. Or if you want to have a hearing on the lack of evidence being offered from the state, that's fine. But the kind of undercurrent of that motion, don't appreciate it. So let's not let it happen again, okay?
That's all we have for today. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'll get I'll think about the state's motion and the defendant's response as to setting some sort of deadlines for discovery, and I'll let y'all know. But otherwise, we'll be in touch with the late June kind of omnibus motion hearing day. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank y'all.
Did you see if he wants to talk to us behind or if he wants to talk to me? Again, how are you? Okay, good to see you. Yeah. I know. He knows, but he only has one. Yeah, you're saying that. Yeah, well, it's again. No. Well, I understand where you were, and that's. Yeah, I want to do it right, and so far his reputation in my interaction is just what I said it is. He's been completely above board and maybe. Yeah, I understand. So, we'll see where we're at. Sorry, I can only do something.
So there you have it, Phoenix Eichner appearing in court on Tuesday, the Florida State University shooting suspect. And I want to make sure that you guys have all the information that you need here as background, even though we've already kind of gotten a peek inside that courtroom. He's pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder in that shooting at Florida State. This is taking place in Leon County. Reports are the state attorney's office said it will seek the death penalty. And again, you have those not guilty pleas on the shooting that happened on Florida State's campus. This is several months ahead of the start of the trial, which is set to begin in October after a judge had previously suspended it. So obviously we'll hear quite a bit about this as we move forward with coverage of the case once it starts in October. If there's any more hearings to prepare, we'll listen in on those as well. We, of course, remember that day very clearly where that shooting happened on the Florida State University campus. Okay, for now, however, we move forward with our coverage of other stories here on Live Impact News. We're going We're going to go to break. We're going to take a commercial. We have a live event happening in Ohio on the Ohio State campus. So we're going to go to break. When we get back, we'll likely go out there live pending any other events. We'll see you in just a little bit. Well, welcome back here to Live Impact News. Now, the event at Ohio State University just wrapped. We have been recording on it, so we're going to look to get that video all set up, and we'll likely listen to that a little later on in the stream here. For now, we only got to spend a very brief amount of time in Miami at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association press conference at the National Hurricane Center, where they're giving an update on the upcoming hurricane season. We were only there for a couple minutes before Taylor Stephenson joined us with our own local forecast. So let's listen in once again, see if we can get a little bit more information from NOAA out in Miami, Florida.
Go to 7 Days Water, 7 Days Food, get your medicine, get your documents, videotape your house so you know if you get hit, what you're going to do with insurance. So, I mean, I just tell people, don't take a chance. Now in this role, I've been since 7 years. I'm chair of the aging committee, so we put a lot of effort into hurricane and disaster preparedness. With all of us in Congress, we've had some success. The House, not the Senate so far, passed disaster relief for people that have had these in the last few years. So you get tax relief for any excess costs over your insurance costs. So Carlos has done his job. We still have got our job to do in the Senate. So. He reminds me. Then I did the Fishes Act with Carlos and Byron Donalds, which is going to give more resources to our fisheries, which is a big deal. Our Army Corps, which a lot of people get frustrated with, which I do too, but they do a good job with beach renourishment. And I tell people, I mean, it's a wonderful group of people. It's just they've created a lot of processes, and we're continuing to work through those processes. So we've done a variety of other things, but the most important thing today is listen to everybody and get ready. So I'll say this in Spanish. La temporada de huracán. Now what happens after my Spanish, then Carlos usually comments about my Spanish. Not really. La temporada de huracanes comienza pronto, lo que significa que las familias deben aprovechar todas las oportunidades para hacer un plan y prepararse. Puede encontrar los recursos y la información sobre cómo crear un plan de emergencia en www.ready.gov. En caso de una tormenta, espero no, manténgase atento a las noticias y siga las instrucciones de los oficiales de seguridad y de gestión de emergencias. By the way, we have the best media in the country. Listen to them. They're going to put out really good information. They're all over this. They're smart. They know how to do this. Yo tengo 9 oficinas en la Florida para ayudar a todos los floridanos. www.rickscott.gov if you want para más información. Como siempre digo, puedes reconstruir tu casa, but no reconstruir tu vida. My grandsons, I said that so much time when I was governor, and my grandsons could repeat it when he was 4 years old. You can rebuild your darn house, but you can't rebuild your life, so don't take a darn chance. So now my good friend and somebody that works his butt off for you, Carlos Jimenez.
I want to thank Senator Scott, Governor Scott, all right, for putting this together like he does every single year, and yes, we're about to start the hurricane season, and although it's forecast to be a slower than usual season, I remember in 1992 I was a fire chief for the city of Miami, and the first storm we had was Andrew, and that's all it took, Andrew. Okay, number one, the first storm. So even if we do have a slower hurricane season, doesn't mean that the threat's not there. It's just a matter of luck, really. I mean, where these hurricanes go. And so our advice, what we're asking people to do is very simple: prepare. So you need to prepare to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. Did they increase the days? No? 72 hours? Okay. Because I've been in Congress. I haven't been the mayor. So if you guys have changed something, at least 72 hours. That means have food, water, your medicines, good for 72 hours. And if your medicines need to be refrigerated, make sure you have a way to do that to keep them, up to strength. If you have generators, it's a good time to start them now. Make sure that they're working. But also, if you do have to use them, never ever put them close to a window, an open window, because of carbon monoxide. If you live in a flood zone, it's very critical that you plan now where it is that you're going to go. Don't do it when they say, "Hey, you got to go," and then go, "Oh my God, where am I going to go?" No, do it now. Have those plans so that if you live in a floodplain or in a flood zone, and you do get that order to evacuate, that you know exactly where you're going. That's one less thing you have to worry about. So all this is about planning. It's about planning. And by the way, the number one killer in a hurricane is storm surge. It's the water. It's not the wind so much. Yeah, the wind is dangerous, but it's the water, storm surge. So everybody that lives close to the coast, that's in an evacuation zone, make sure you have a plan to get out. And when told to get out, asked to get out, get out. All right, it's for your own good, and like the senator, governor says, you can rebuild your house, you can't rebuild your life. Nothing is worth risking your life over, especially if you have another option. Miami-Dade County has a number of shelters that they will have open. Some of them will also take care of your pets, and so if you want to take pets, make sure you know where those shelters are, so that you just don't go scrambling again, finding, where am I going to take my dog, where am I going to take my cats, etc. We have pet-friendly shelters throughout Miami-Dade. If you have special needs, please call the Miami-Dade Office of Emergency Management and make sure that you're signed up, so that when it's time to go get you because you have special needs, they'll put you on a list, and they will provide transportation for you to special needs shelters. Well, there will be housed, and they will have paramedics, et cetera, to make sure that you're okay through a storm. And so, again, the number one thing: preparation. Plan ahead. If you plan ahead, make sure you have enough supplies again for 72 hours. You're going to be self-sufficient, because if it is a very severe storm, it may take us 3 days to get to you. And we have to. The local folks, we have to clear all the streets, et cetera, but some of these streets are going to take some time to clear. We may not be able to get to you. And as the senator said, it's the local response that you're going to see first, then you're going to see the state, and then finally you're going to see the federal government. And in that case, and that's why we always tell people that you need to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. In Miami-Dade County, I think we have the best response in the entire nation. All right, very proud of the professionals here, police, fire, emergency management. You have the best in the U.S. And so if we get struck by a major storm, hate to say this, but the best place for a major storm to hit is actually here, right? Because the response is so good, and because we're good at it, because, well, we've been through a lot, all right? And so, again, prepare. It's coming. We don't know, if a storm is coming. Nobody can tell you if we're going to have a storm this year. Nobody, all right? And if somebody says, well, it's going to be a slow season, don't worry about it. No, worry about it, because, again, the example of Hurricane Andrew, first one out of the box, Category 5, it's the worst hurricane we've ever had here in Miami-Dade County. So I'm going to switch a little bit over to Spanish, and don't worry, they criticize my Spanish too. Ya es la temporada de huracán, se tiene que preparar, por menos tiene que preparar los planes para qué van a hacer si viene un huracán. Primero, necesita 3 días de medicina, de comida, de agua y también de medicina. Y si la medicina necesita estar fría, tiene que tener un tipo de plan para eso también. Si vive en una zona de evacuación que está cerca de la costa, tenga un plan a dónde van, dónde se van a ir si hay una orden de evacuación. Porque la número 1 causa de muerte en un huracán es inundaciones. Es la número 1 causa. Así que si los oficiales le dan una orden de evacuación, tómalo serio y salgan de la casa, porque como dice el senador Scott, se puede reconstruir la casa, un hogar, pero no se puede reconstruir la vida. Nada, ningún tipo de artículo, casa, no debes de perder tu vida por ninguna cosa. Así que si hay una orden de evacuación, salgan, pero tengan saber dónde van a ir. Por eso es que es tan importante que planifican ahora. Si tienen generadores, arráncalos ahora, a ver si trabajan o no, pero si lo tienen que usar durante una emergencia, nunca lo ponga al lado de una ventana abierta por el riesgo de carbon monoxide. Así que es muy peligroso. Pero también, si lo tienen, arráncalo ahora para asegurar que cuando lo necesitan, lo puedan tener. What else am I going to say in Spanish? No, y eso, el tema es preparación. Prepárense ahora para un huracán. Y otra vez, nadie te puede decir si viene un huracán o no. Cuando yo era el jefe de los bomberos, en 1992, el primer huracán era Andrew. Y Andrew fue el huracán más poderoso que hemos tenido aquí en la historia del condado de Miami-Dade. Así que
Okay, and we return to the studio from Miami-Dade where that press conference is ongoing. You see the sign on the front of the podium, hurricane season, make a plan, stay safe. Make a plan, absolutely critical. The first one leads to the second one. If you make a plan and you follow through on it and it's a good plan, then you will be much more likely to stay safe. That advice, obviously critical in Florida and Miami, but just as critical here in Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina, where we are susceptible to hurricanes as well. Now, this season predicted to be slightly slower due to that El Nino production that we're seeing. However, all it takes is one, and there are still expected to be some storms, just a slightly lower number. So it's still good to, again, make a plan, be prepared, and our meteorologists will be talking about that as we lead up to June 1st, Monday, the start of hurricane season. And some would even say that we have one of the most critical members of our hurricane coverage here in the studio right now, the producer of Hurricane Hub Live, Nia Campbell, in the house. Nia, I know you guys have been having some meetings. All right, what are we looking forward to with Hurricane Hub Live this season?
We're looking forward to some very interesting coverage here. We're going to have interviews. We're going to be talking to other Mets around the our company, it's going to be exciting.
Okay, maybe we'll even talk to some Mets down in Florida where we just heard that press conference.
Sure.
Okay, Hurricane Hub Live starting up soon. We'll let everybody know all the finer details as we approach that date. For now, we're going to go to a break here. We have Vice President J.D. Vance getting ready to hold a roundtable. We have NASA getting ready to make an announcement. And, of course, we have that Ohio State press conference that we are still holding as we didn't make it out there in time for live coverage. All that coming up on Live Impact News. Okay, we're back here live in the studio. We're still waiting for our 2 live events to officially kick off. So we're going to head out to Ohio State, to Columbus, Ohio, where there's a press conference regarding the Strauss investigation. Now, what is that? What are we talking about? From 1978 to 1998, Richard Strauss was employed by Ohio State as a physician treating students and student athletes. Now, Strauss passed away in 2005, but in March of 2018, Ohio State received a report from a former student athlete about sexual abuse by Strauss decades earlier. Ohio State looked into these allegations, and less than 1 week later, on April 5th, 2018, the university announced an investigation and notified the police. Ohio State contacted 115,000 alumni and former student athletes about the investigation. The university reached out to another 147,000 people through notifications to inform them of the investigation. And on May 17th, 2019, after a thorough year-long independent investigation, Ohio State released and posted online the 182 reports summarizing the investigation and its findings. The investigation found that at least 177 male students were sexually abused by Strauss. So that is coming from straussinvestigation.osu.edu. And out on campus today, former victims of Strauss giving a press conference. Let's listen in Columbus, Ohio.
But I was not an Ohio State student athlete. A few months ago, I heard Mike DeSabato and others on a radio interview discussing their documentary, Surviving Ohio State. And I listened and I heard their accounts, which matched my experience. I knew then that I needed to come forward, but I didn't know who to come forward to or how. Then a couple weeks ago, I learned of Jeff Happ being a victim as well. I've known Jeff for a long time, and I knew he didn't attend Ohio State. Jeff and I have interacted in our professional lives for decades, and upon hearing his courageous account, I reached out to commend him from coming forward. For the first time, I also shared my account. Without hesitation, Jeff put me in touch with Mike and others. I'm coming forward today not only for myself, but for Jeff, all these men behind me, and all the other victims. As a police leader, I often stood in front of cameras and urged crime victims and witnesses to come forward and share their stories. I hope my example today inspires others. Today I'm also calling for my alma mater to hold itself accountable and do the right thing. This is the right time, and these are the right reasons. Although decades have passed, the wounds have not healed. It's time to hear the victims and bring closure. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker is someone I've admired since I was a kid. Growing up on the West Side, Todd Schreck was one of those people that I looked up to. Not only was he an elite athlete wrestler, a state runner-up in 1980, member of the 1982 state wrestling team championship team. That team was one of the best teams, not just in Ohio, but across this world, across the country, the 1982 state wrestling team. Todd was also someone to me when I was a young man that mentored me, not just because I was a wrestler, but we both had a passion for magician. He was a magician. And I can remember vividly when I was in 7th grade presenting my yearly project about how I was going to become a magician. Todd was always kind, empathetic, and yet he was one of the greatest athletes to come out of Bishop Ready High School, a high school that in 1982-83 was the backdraft, or was the location of heinous sexual crimes against children. I was 14 years old when Dr. Strauss sexually molested me. Todd Schreck was 17 years old. Jeff Happ was 15 years old. Strauss not only assaulted student athletes at The Ohio State University, he sexually assaulted youth athletes across this city, across this state, frankly, across this nation. Todd's recently retired from the Columbus Police Department. On May 14th, he spoke to the Columbus Dispatch, testified courageously, supporting Jeff, telling his story. Todd's always been and will always be elite. It's my true honor to introduce my friend and hero, Todd Schreck.
My name's Todd Schreck. I'm a retired fire captain from Columbus Fire. A couple years ago, I was sitting with Mike, and I told him that if you need just a friend that understands what you went through, that I was also a victim of Dr. Strauss when I was 17 years old. That went on a couple other times throughout, but it was time for me when Mike was drawing more attention to what's happened to victims, for me to step forward and give my story. I interviewed with the Columbus Dispatch, gave them my story, and just wanted to step forward and tell others it's time to be brave, it's okay. If you're a victim, that doesn't define who you are. It's just a piece of the pie for you to move on in life and to share your story with others. So I hope today's enlightening for everyone. I thank Mike and his family. I thank the Happ family, the Beckers, and I appreciate all of you coming. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I want to introduce the union president, Steve Stein, and then following him would be the union president, Brian Steele. And just a little something about Brian Steele and I. In 2005, I was at that time a captain in the arson squad. And so I went through the Columbus Police Academy, and Brian was one of my classmates. So we got to wrestle around, have some fun again. But without further ado, our union president, Steve Stein. Thank you, Steve.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Stein. I'm president of the Columbus Firefighters Union, Local 67, representing over 1,700 Columbus firefighters. I was really thinking a lot about what I was going to say here today. And, I think the most appropriate thing I could start with is really an apology to these guys standing here behind me. Because I think, like most people, I heard about this stuff in the news, and I just assumed that justice was being served. I just assumed that victims were being heard, that they were being treated fairly. Some of these guys...
Okay, so you can hear just in that press conference first of all, the unity amongst the individuals that are there, and then, of course, the emotion coming out even all these years later as they reckon with the results of this investigation and moving forward at Ohio State. Now, we have breaking news coming out of Tennessee. We are going to get to that as soon as we are done with this commercial break. Governor Lee being called upon to extend an execution reprieve after a botched execution. That's where we're headed when we come back. Okay, we're back here in the Impact studio. We're going to head out to Nashville, Tennessee. This announcement, this press conference comes after a botched execution attempt of Tony Carruthers on May 21st. Attorneys are calling upon the governor to extend the execution reprieve issued for Mr. Carruthers and to all executions until litigation concerning is complete. Let's go out to Tennessee right now.
Central line, the doctor asks, "Is anybody here qualified to assess jugular access?" The doctor's asking that question. One of the other people on the medical team said yes. They turned the lights down. They got a vein finder. They tried to search on Tony's neck for a vein, and he said we are not able to get jugular access. They continued, they searched his feet, they searched his hands. I lost count of how many times they poked him. I certainly hope that the department kept the number of syringes that they used, because I can still hear the clinking in the receptacle, and it was a lot. So when the doctor's deciding now he's going to place the central line, he pushes lidocaine into Tony's chest. Before he does that, he says, does anyone know if the patient is allergic to lidocaine? The patient? This is a doctor who took an oath to do no harm and is about to kill a man and calls him the patient. Nobody knows the answer to that question. They asked Tony. He's like, I don't think so. He's in obvious distress. They give him the lidocaine, and it takes about 5 minutes. The doctor says we're going to wait 5 minutes. I again demand to use the phone. We can't use the phone in the chamber, can't use the phone in anyone's pocket, so we walk all the way back out, go back out, and I use the phone again, and I explain what's going on. We go back inside. It is an hour has elapsed at this point. And they are getting ready. Dr. Fowler is getting ready to try to insert the central line in Tony's chest. He gets his scalpel, and he starts pressing, and he says, can you feel that? And Tony says, it hurts, it hurts. And the doctor says, it's just pressure. And he cuts him. And y'all that were out there heard the moaning and the groaning. And I saw the blood and the puncture wound. And he couldn't get it in. And he tried again. I saw a second puncture wound. More groaning, moaning. He's absolutely oblivious. This doctor is oblivious to the fact that he is causing agony to Mr. Carruthers. And eventually he says, I can't get a central line. They still don't stop. They go back to the same arm where there's already an IV, and they start poking in Tony's shoulder. He's been stabbed in the chest twice now, at least. They keep going in the shoulder. They say that they have access in the shoulder. I can see blood filling the back line. It doesn't seem like access to me, but they say they have access. It's, and I don't have my notes in front of me for the exact time, but it was about 11:30 at this point, 11:28, 11:30. We'd been in that room since 10:22. They step back, seemingly content that after over an hour of torturing Mr. Carruthers, they get a second line. But again, blood is filling the line. The warden steps out. The warden steps back. Everyone is just standing in the room. Tony is in agony. He's in unimaginable distress. Then the phone in the execution chamber rings. I hear the warden answer it. And he's just, I can only hear his side. So he's, yes, okay. And he hangs up. And at this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to continue. At this point, the level of incompetence and cruelty that I've witnessed, nothing would have surprised me in that moment, if I'm being honest. But the warden said, we're not doing this today. Well, he said, we're not doing this. And I said, today? And he said, not now, is all he would say. And then he directed the team to take the IVs out of Tony and to take him back to his cell. Tony was in agony when the IVs came out. There was a lot of blood coming out through the lines, and they took him to medical, and they escorted us out of the prison. And then, of course, many of you were with me outside when I learned for the first time on camera, talking to a lot of you, that the reprieve was for a year. And I am grateful that the governor stopped this barbaric event and gave us a year. And I am here for Tony. And now what we have to do in that year is to let him heal emotionally, physically, and to continue to fight to prove what he's been saying for 30 years is that he's innocent of this crime. So it is my strong hope that the next thing I hear from the Attorney General or from the governor is we are going to allow the DNA testing that we have been fighting against for so long. And we are going to finally be able to show what Tony has been saying. And so what I'm doing now and what I've been trying to do is get a doctor in to see Tony. More difficult than you would think. I've already made an ask and it hasn't been granted yet. What are they hiding? Why can't we have medical access of an independent medical doctor to our client? Why is he still subjected to the treatment, the medical treatment at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, who so badly tried to end his life last week? I am committed to Tony's case. We are not going anywhere, and we will get to the bottom of this. Thank you.
Executions carried out in the name of the people of Tennessee must meet the highest standards of competence and reliability. Both the ongoing litigation and the department's track record show repeated failures, ignored warnings, and preventable harm. Again, the torture inflicted on Mr. Carruthers last week was not just predictable, it was predicted, and TDOC should have prevented it. The Tennessee courts are in the process of reviewing the constitutionality of TDOC's 2025 lethal injection protocol. The courts must have time to complete that review, complete the review of our allegations and our complaint, and the events of last Thursday, to determine whether the state can reliably and competently execute its citizens. We ask Governor Lee to give time for the courts to complete that review and to do their job.
Okay, so lawyers in Tennessee calling for more time after that botched execution. And if we get a chance to hear from the governor or any other officials in Tennessee, we'll certainly do that. We have 2 other live events going on right now, Nia Campbell, but let's go ahead and take a quick break first. And then when we come back, we'll head out to both Vice President J.D. Vance's roundtable and NASA, where they're making an announcement about a potential moon base coming up next. Okay, we're back here on Live Impact News. We got about 35 minutes left. We want to make sure we visit both of these events. They're both notable live events happening right now. First, we will go out to Vice President J.D. Vance holding an anti-fraud roundtable with state attorneys general and the FTC chair. Let's listen in on that first. Then we'll get to NASA announcing potential plans for a moon base coming up.
Colin McDonald will explain all of the ways that state AGs and DOJ can partner to coordinate and cooperate and put as many fraudsters in jail as possible. But before I close, I just want to remind all of us why this really matters. This isn't just about restoring social trust in America. This is about saving these programs so that your constituents who have paid for them can actually use them when they need them. Fraud is bleeding these programs dry. We've seen countless of examples in this task force of Americans trying to use their benefits they've been paying for decades, only to find out that some fraudster has stolen those benefits and they're not available to them anymore. Just last week, the Department of Justice, under Assistant Attorney General McDonald's leadership, indicted 15 fraudsters in Minnesota. There, the fraud had gotten so bad that a major program designed to protect Americans from homelessness, including veterans, had to be shut down. It was so riddled with fraud, it could not be maintained. Your constituents are American citizens paying for these programs. They expect these programs to be there when they need them, and unless we stop the fraud, these programs will not be around in their current form for your constituents to use when they hit hard times, just as they've wanted to make them available for their neighbors in the same circumstances. So I encourage all of you, partner with us, partner with the department, partner with the task force, make your Medicaid fraud control units the elite fraud-fighting forces that they are intended to be. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller.
Thank you. And thank you again to the Vice President for leading this effort, for helming this task force, for bringing us all together here. I think you can all agree that this is the fastest in history that a government task force has traveled from creation to action. Your typical lead time is going to be a year of meetings before anything happens, and that's if you're lucky. And within weeks of this task force being established, we've seen the largest ever slate of indictments, recovered funds, search warrants, raids, seizures, investigations, and new legal actions to stop, disrupt, and prevent fraud. What we've learned, which is not surprising to those of us who've spent some time in this area, is that fraud is every bit as bad as President Trump said it was, and even worse. So in other words, everything we found either confirms our worst fears or exceeds them. That's the bad news. The good news is that the best team in government, under the leadership of Vice President Vance, has been assembled to deal with it. And of course, one of those men who you'll hear from in a second is sitting to my right here, the Associate Attorney General for Fraud Enforcement, Colin McDonald. But before I yield the floor, I do want to just touch on one of the points that Andrew hit on in his remarks. All of the systems in our country, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about entitlements, whether you're talking about welfare benefits, were set up based on the honor system. They're set up based on the idea that you could trust the average person through their own morality to abide by the rules and comply with the law. And so the way most welfare works in most states and most places is we take your word for it. If you fill out a piece of paper and you say your kids are hungry, you are going to get food stamps. We don't check as a country if you even have kids. The fact is basic as that. We don't even check if you even have children. You will just start getting the checks. And so what's happened to our country is we became a society, as we've seen with the Somali refugee problem in Minnesota, where you have a large number of people that are not following the honor system. They're not playing by the rules. They're not abiding by our laws. And the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation. So thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. 50 days ago today, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division at the Department of Justice. And today, 50 days later, the Fraud Division has announced 450 major fraud events occurring across the country, from charges to convictions to sentences. We are off to a rapid start to protect you, the American taxpayer, and ensure that your dollars stay where they belong, and that is in your pocket. When an individual's money is stolen, that individual takes it personally and does everything they can to recover their money. This task force, under the Vice President's leadership, we are here to take it personally every time someone decides to rob the United States of their money. We are here to take it personally when someone decides to take money from a program designed to give money, food, health care to the needy, the sick, and the elderly. That is what the Fraud Division is here to do. It's to take it personally for you, the United States of America, when your money is stolen. In the last 50 days, our work includes the unprecedented charges against 15 defendants for Medicaid fraud schemes in Minnesota. It includes charges in a $650 million sober homes Medicaid fraud scheme in Arizona. It includes a guilty plea in a $270 million Medicaid fraud scheme in California. Those are just a few of the successes of the Fraud Division and the Department of Justice in the last 50 days. And we're only getting started. This is just the beginning of our fight against fraud, and that's where these partners come into play, because we need your help. Our division is called the National Fraud Enforcement Division for a reason. It's not the Washington, D.C. Fraud Task Force. It's the National Fraud Enforcement Division because the fraud problem is national, and our state partnerships are critical to solving the fraud crisis in our country. So I'm going to give 3 things that our state partners here can do right now today. Medicaid fraud control units. Re-energize and fully mobilize, fully maximize your state's Medicaid fraud control units. When we're done, we want to rename those into the Making Fraud Completely Unprofitable Unit, MFUCU. These units are your state's and really the country's first line of defense against Medicaid fraud. How many active investigations do they have? How many are ready to be charged? If partnered up with DOJ, how many could be charged in the next 90 days? Under your
Okay, we come out of that roundtable in Washington, D.C. to make sure we have time to visit with all of these live events as they continue to fight fraud with that new initiative. Now, on the bottom of your screen, we see that NASA press conference when they're talking about the potential establishment of a moon base. We mentioned during the Artemis II mission, this was one of the goals, scout the moon as a potential base to be built there, a base that eventually could become sort of like a layover out to Mars. So all of this is stuff we want to make sure we visit. A little bit of time with the Anti-Fraud Roundtable. Now we'll head out to NASA. First, we have to take a commercial break. We will be right back. All right, back here on Live Impact, and we're going to head straight out to that NASA press conference where they are discussing a potential moon base. Let's listen in right now.
In depth across tens of kilometers. It will also characterize the radiation environment before we send other assets or crews to the surface and provide a geodetic framework for navigation using retroreflectors. Wherever we put these drones, it will provide much more of a capability for precision landing for whatever landing is coming into that area. And then we'll have cameras, of course, on all of them and be able to observe around the territory. The next objective is imaging. So in the picture that you see on the screen, you have the current capability on the right and what we're going to provide on the left. So high-resolution imagery across all mission phases, including the deployment, the landing, and nominal operations of staying in situ or hopping around. It will continue image collection during extended mission, and it will analyze the different sites for unprecedented detail and basically allowing us to build our understanding of soil mechanics, the terrain, the lighting conditions in situ of wherever we want to go. It will help us build a digital terrain map of different landing sites on the moon and prospect moon-based sites. So all of those things are going to be critical for continuing understanding of where we're going. The last part I wanted to talk about that we're hoping to achieve is to establish a moon-based perimeter. With 4 or 3 lunar drones, Moonfall, we're going to be able to basically put them at the corners of the areas where we think we have either key scientific objectives or we want to build up the moon base. And maybe in their final hope, like I said earlier, we can give them a function, potentially be a beacon, provide those retroreflectors to be able to get more precise landing, even be the first lunar cell tower if we choose to do so. By coupling the survive the night technology with different instruments and of course cameras for observation, it'll give us a tremendous capability. And like I said, for phase 1, Moonbase is just a demonstration of capability. We hope this will work out and we'll be able to evolve that capability. I'm picturing the future of Moonbase where we're starting to plan areas where we're going to send the crews or rovers to robotically go to a specific crater or area of interest. We can deploy these drones. Some areas we can even reach with lunar terrain vehicles or rovers. So this could be a critical capability to allow us to get to those objectives. So something has to take the lunar drones, Moonfall, to the surface of the moon. And today we're ready to announce that JPL, our partner developing the Moonfall drones, has selected a carrier spacecraft, and that is Firefly. All right, congratulations. Big round of applause for Firefly. So Firefly is going to build a version of its Elytra dark orbital vehicle for this mission. Firefly's first vehicle is built on the same systems that successfully landed and gave us that mind-blowing video of reaching the surface of the moon. That was the CLIPS Blue Ghost mission that flew and successfully landed last year. They're working with JPL on the part of the mission called Cruise, Deorbit, and Braking Stage. So the Elytra vehicle will basically carry the drones from Earth into lunar orbit, then slow down, and at a certain altitude, it will deploy 4 or 3 drones that will then take the mission on their own hands. They'll finalize the landing. They'll land probably about a mile apart from each other and carry on from the mission there. This is a very exciting mission that you can see a picture of the carrier vehicle there. We can't wait to get started and actually see these things deployed. Congratulations, Firefly, and glad to partner with you guys on this. All right, so we're done with the award announcement, so a big round of applause for all of you. Now gets the hard part, which is delivering on time and having successful missions back to back. Okay, now I want to talk about what is on the lunar horizon. So the first one I want to talk about is CLIPS 1.0. During Ignition Day, basically we said we're going to use the CLIPS construct, which was doing scientific commercial service payload delivery to the surface, to continue on and provide the landers that will carry our assets to the surface. And we declared two things. We were going to contract for the LTV delivery service, which we just announced, and we were going to also expand the number of missions to carry payloads, whether scientific or technology demonstrations. Those announcements are coming back and coming up in June. So stand by for that, and we're going to declare the award winners for several of those missions to add to the Moonbase portfolio. We're also working on additional task orders for low and mid-sized class landers through 1.0 to potentially deliver additional technology demonstration payloads. So all of that is also coming up soon. And then in Ignition Day, we talked about CLIPS 2.0. So 2.0 is really the next generation lunar cargo landers. We are accepting proposals to that June 30th, and early in the fall or even late in the summer of 2026, we'll announce the companies that are eligible to participate on that. And it's going to be a very quick turnaround between making those vendors eligible to when we start contracting those missions. CLIPS 2.0 is built on the successes of CLIPS 1.0, but we're giving ourselves more flexibility. There's going to be ability to do tax orders on end-to-end service. There's going to be ability to basically just buy a lander and be able to couple that with launch service and also technology demonstration payloads, which we may procure or build on our own, and we'll be doing the integration of all of those missions in-house. Again, full end-to-end service, in-house, or a combination of. And we're going to be using that and advertising providers eligible and missions through CLIPS 2.0 with the next generation landers pretty soon in the next coming months. And then one of the things that we were wanting to do pretty fast is basically establish the architecture, set the priorities for the technology that we're going to need in phase 2, and then map that to the tech demonstrations that we need to do in phase 1, all these landers we're just talking about. We've narrowed the field of things that we're interested. There's many things that we need to perform, including survive the night and all of those things, but we really want to focus on developing the mid-sized cargo delivery. This is going to be accomplished through CLIPS 2.0. Initial power infrastructure. We're talking about solar and potentially nuclear, also smaller components for surviving the night. We're looking at 2 to 15 kilowatts of power generation, up to 20 kilowatts potentially if it's a nuclear system, and hundreds of kilowatt hours of storage capacity. We're also wanting to explore initial cargo mobility and logistics, which is going to be a huge key element of permanent habitation, and then Pathfinder habitation missions. We have 2 BAAs today across the agency, not just Moonbase, which are soliciting ideas, and we'll be using those to take proposals, not for studies, but actually building hardware. The study is going to be put the thing on the surface, test it out, learn from it, and then actually graduate that to be a permanent part of the architecture. So that work is going on now. Okay, that was a lot. So this wraps up the first Moonbase status, where in just 2 months, we've covered awards for new landers, lunar terrain vehicles, and moonfall carrier spacecraft. Soon, we will be statusing progress on the additional landers. Like I said, we'll also be going to be talking about international partner contribution agreements, which we're actively working on. Awards for technology demonstration missions, and the selected companies to build the next generation landers. As Artemis II showed us, literally, we're just a tiny body in this universe. But we're in the business of expanding our horizons, doing the near impossible, building the Moonbase. We're making history together. Thank you very much. And now we're going to transition into the answer questions from the media. So, George, back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you all. As you can see on stage now, we're joined by models of the landers and vehicles from Blue Origin, Astrolab, Lunar Outpost, and Firefly. We'll now start taking questions from the media. We'll start in the room, and if you're joining us via the phone bridge, please press *1 to enter the queue. We also have in attendance today subject matter experts who will help answer some of our questions, but please direct your questions to our speakers that are on stage. As a reminder, today's briefing is focused specifically on the moon base, so please keep your questions within that scope. And please ask one question so we can get to as many of you as possible. We'll circle back if we have time. We'll now take our first question. In the front row, yes.
You want to hold it? Okay. Hi there, Kristen Fisher with The Endless Void. My question's for Jared. Jared, China has said that it's studying lava tubes as potential sites for future bases. They just put about 28 taikonauts through cave training for about a month. And so my question is are there any discussions taking place right now at NASA about exploring lava tubes, underground lava tubes, as a possible site for a future second base? Or is everything focused squarely on the moon's south pole? Thanks.
Well, I would say that we are very focused on the first moon base, but in these conversations, we do discuss that we are aspiring to have a lot of outposts on the lunar surface. And I think cave exploration has been part of, at various times, our own astronaut program training as well. So we certainly see value in that environment. I don't know if you'd like to add anything, Lori.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it there. We have actually done a lot of work in the past at looking at caves for being able to protect human crew from radiation, the harsh radiation environment. So certainly there's been a lot of research there, and certainly something that could be part of, as you said, as we start to expand our reach, could be part of that.
Yes, in the white.
Thank you so much for this briefing. Lenka White with RIA Novosti. It's very interesting. I was curious on international cooperation. Let's say there would be a moon base 4. Are there any talks about possibly cooperating with international partners on ISS-style cooperation on the moon with partners like Roscosmos and others? Thank you so much.
So we are having a lot of conversations with our international partners. I don't know that this is going to be quite in the ISS style. This may be a little different. We're having a lot of individual conversations with various international partners about the types of missions we could collaborate on, where they're either providing payloads or they're providing a capability that we'll work with them on. So there's a lot of that discussion ongoing right now. I think there's a lot of excitement with the international community about different ways they can participate and collaborate with NASA on these various missions, from small-scale payloads all the way up through very large systems like the pressurized rover or habitats. So we've got a pretty broad range of conversations ongoing.
Yeah, we'll be statusing you on that in upcoming moon-based status mission. It's status briefings.
This will be second row in the suit.
Oh, of course. Thank you for taking my question. Sergei Motov with the Russian TASS News Agency. My question is for Administrator Isaacman. So to follow up on international cooperation, do you expect to discuss lunar exploration during your upcoming visit to Baikonur this summer? And as a follow-up, do you also expect to discuss the integrated crew flights and extending the agreement with Russia?
I would say whenever I've had my discussions with Director General Brakhanov, we usually give updates on our respective space programs and progress. So I fully expect we'll be discussing the International Space Station and what that continued cooperation will look like through the remaining life of Space Station. And I am sure we will also discuss generally what NASA has planned for our lunar missions on the horizon. In our last conversation, the Director General was very kind to discuss the Artemis II, so I'm sure it'll be a topic again.
Our next question will come from the phone bridge from Marcia Dunn with the AP.
Yes, hi. Probably for you, Carlos. When people think of a moon base, they think about people living there full time. And what do you envision? When do you envision that happening, where visiting lunar astronauts are not just going to be camping out in their capsules for for a week or so. But when do you think that there will be a real base with habitats, and when might that happen, and how long might their stays be, and how many astronauts do you envision on the surface at any one time? Just paint me a picture of the future. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. So in the 3 phases we've described, we hope to have some sort of habitation capability in phase 2 with the pressurized rover. That will be where the astronauts can land on their human-rated lander, hop on the pressurized rover and basically work and explore the moon on a short-lived environment, and then from there go to different locations where they can get out of the pressurized rover, perhaps hop onto a lunar terrain vehicle, and even go farther with EVA suits. In phase 2, we'll be building permanent infrastructure, including laying out a power grid and things like that, all building up to what it takes to do permanent habitation. Permanent habitation is not just about the asset, but it's about the whole train of logistics that we would need to have set up in place to enable that. So I think we'll go from this short duration missions to longer stays using some of these assets to basically long-term flights, not potentially permanent, but with crews coming to the surface twice a year, we can expand the time that they can expend there before they come back home. And then eventually, when we've matched the assets, habitation modules, with the logistics and all the things to move the logistics around, then we'll be able to say, hey, we're permanently here and we're not giving it up.
Next question will come from Eric Berger with Ars Technica via the phone bridge.
Hi, thanks very much for doing this. This is a question for Jared or Carlos, I think. So Carlos referenced the moon-based perimeter, and I'm just curious, having looked at the Artemis Accords, is this a safety zone you're trying to create? And are these areas basically where non-Artemis Accord signatories, should keep out of? Thanks.
I think it's important for us to get there first, and I mean when I say that, meaning let's get there and actually achieve what we're intending to do with these Hopper drones. It is a first of its kind, which is why JPL is tackling this. But I think the idea that there are areas of great interest on the lunar surface, we do want to get there and explore them, and we also obviously want to be very mindful of the Outer Space Treaty, so that we are respectful of other nations that are putting assets on the lunar surface. We would expect that to be reciprocal. But I think that's just one objective of many that the Moonfall drones intend to accomplish, as Carlos discussed. I mean, this is going to be scouting. There's going to be comms on it. There's going to be observation capabilities as the primary objectives of that Moonfall asset.
Our next question will be from Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now via the phone bridge.
Hi, everyone, for taking the time to speak with us. Question for Carlos, I suppose. With the LTVs that were announced from Lunar Outpost and from Astrolab, about how far is the driving range of those? And I ask because I imagine while it's still being examined, the amount of ejecta that's going to be kicked up by either Starship or Blue Moon Mark II is going to be quite dramatic. And so I would assume that the LTVs can't be placed too close to future Artemis landing sites. So how far apart are these assets going to be placed? And are you expecting them to sort of go to and from future Artemis crewed landing sites? Is that the plan? Thanks.
Yeah, good question. So I'm going to actually bring in some of our moon-based team experts, starting with the acting director for surface mobility, Rover Pickle. And by the way, I'll just introduce them all for future questions. We have Najut Meransi, she's the chief architect of Moonbase, and Ryan Stefan, who is the acting director for cargo landers. So Robert, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Great question. So protecting for PSI, we plan to keep the LTVs approximately 2 kilometers away when the landers land. And they'll traverse in, be able to pick up the crew, and then do missions up to like 10 kilometers during the crewed period, and then uncrewed, like Carlos said, total of like 400 kilometers throughout the lifetime.
Thank you.
We'll go to our next question that'll be from Jeff Faust with Space News on the phone bridge.
Good afternoon. What is the dollar value of the various awards you announced this afternoon to Blue Origin, Astrolab, Lunar Outpost, and Firefly? Thank you.
All right, good question also. So Ryan, take it away. We'll start with the service delivery of the LTVs, and then we'll go to Robert for the actual LTV awards.
Yeah, I don't want to do math real time, but each individual award to Blue Origin was $234 million per mission, so 234 times 2.
Yeah, and each LTV award was $220 million.
All right, thank you. We'll go to our next question in the room in the blue and white tie.
Hunter Ryerson from Pirate Wires. For Administrator Isaacman, NASA's made...
All right, so the potential for a moon base on the moon, a part of that Artemis 2 mission. Exciting stuff from NASA there. A busy day today on Live Impact News. Now, our sports guy is not here today, so it is up to me to bring you some exciting news from the sports world as well. The New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. They're looking for their first championship since the early 70s. The New York Knicks sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're in the NBA Finals, and they are waiting on the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs, and the San Antonio Spurs, the team of the future, to see who they'll play in the finals. Can they bring home that first title since Willis Reed and Walt Frazier? We will see in the NBA Finals. Naya, not bad for a former sports guy. I can still fill in sometimes, right?
Not bad.
Okay, maybe one day on Live Impact News, we will get a member of our sports department to do a further breakdown of some of our local and national sports. Today is not that day, but today has been a wonderful day on Live Impact News with all of you. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you tomorrow. 13 News Now at 4 starts in an hour.